With that, we'll get started. I am really excited today to have two exciting people on this call. We have the president of Xerox IT Solutions. I'm very happy to have him on board. This is our first webinar together. So Munu Gandhi, you'll be joining us. And then we have Brad Killinger, who's CEO of Sapience, who's a very key partner of ours. And excited to have both of them on this webinar. So I'm going to pass it. Actually, I'm not going to say much more because you guys have a lot to talk about. So Munu, with that, it's all you. So good luck,
Thanks, Matt. I
guys.
appreciate the introduction, and thanks to everyone that's taken the time out to listen into this conversation. This is gonna be a fun one, right? Like, we have had the privilege of working with Brad and his team for almost a year and a half now, both as a partner, but also as a consumer of the platform, right? And so this conversation around Sapience, the platform, how it works, what it does, the significant value that we have seen it create for our clients, and just a little bit about like the why of Sapience, right? So with that, just as Matt mentioned, my name is Munu Gandhi. I'm the president of Xerox IT Solutions. We are a global technology infrastructure solutions provider. We have over 1,100 colleagues that come in every single day whose only focus is to support and serve our clients. We do everything from cloud and hosting to network and security, collaboration, all the way through the hybrid workforce and anywhere learning. And we have three underlying service areas that support those four solution pillars: device lifecycle management, deployment services, and managed services. Today specifically, again, we're here to talk to Brad about the Sapience platform, as it provides clients a very unique set of perspectives, insights into the contingent workforce. But before we get into that, let me hand it off to Brad so he can introduce himself as well as Sapience.
Thank you, Manu, and thank you everybody for joining. I'm Brad Killinger, CEO, Sapience Analytics. Very humbled and honored that you're taking some time out of what surely are your busy days to learn a bunch. So hopefully we can keep this light, loose, and fun. As mentioned, I've had the great honor of running Sapience now for about 8 years. Tremendous company built around, from tremendous people. We see ourselves really as the worldwide leader in workforce productivity analytics. I'm really excited about coming in here and really having an opportunity today to discuss. I think the topic is around the hidden costs of your contingent labor, and it's certainly been an area that's been one kind of drove our vision around the company if you date back 8 years ago and what was possible, and something that I think is a really, really interesting and worthwhile topic to be going through. So with that, I'm honored to be sharing the stage, and why don't we kind of dive in? I think we're going to go back and forth a little bit with some questions, and so let me just put a little bit of table setting here, and what led you originally to even look at the workforce productivity analytics market space. So specifically what Sapience is doing, and I know you were running a company prior to this and prior to Xerox acquisition, so you probably have a really interesting answer around this.
Yeah, Brad. So I've had the privilege in my career of working both as a client for some very large global organizations that have utilized offshore and contingent labor. I've been a client of those. I've been actually a solution provider and service provider of those types of services. And so this is now going back now to 2023, and I was talking to a former colleague of mine, and talking about some of the dynamics of workforce analytics, workforce productivity, and how do you continue to enable employees to have, how do you continue to enable your business to get the right level of kind of outcomes from these contingent workforces? And she mentioned a platform that she had used at her company, which is a large financial services company, and some of the outcomes that came out of it, right? And it intrigued me, and so I asked her to get me connected to the Sapience team, and so our journey really started back in 2023 with that first conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know as we go through the conversation today, we'll drive ourselves a little bit more into kind of what some of those outcomes are at a broad level. Obviously, keeping confidentiality and all of those
Yep,
pillars in play. But I think one of the interesting areas, if I had to answer that same question, is you know, prior to having this, opportunity to run Sapiens, I had a very long career in the professional services side of the house.
yep,
And it took me about 15 minutes of really seeing what was version 1.0 of the Sapiens idea and platform to just go over the moon excited. I understood the issues that existed in the marketplace around transparency, around, from a service provider side of how painful it could be to be in an engagement and trying to convince a client that you needed more resources to achieve the goal, the level of distrust that existed. I've heard it all through the career that, hey, you know what, this was all built to be a big black box. And when I
yep,
used to ask my service providers I work for, why would you want that? And they'd say, oh, Brad, there's margin and mystery. And so there's a lot of reasons we got there. But I
yep,
think one of the driving forces behind Sapiens early on was that there was an opportunity to do something different, to bring a new tool into the marketplace that could drive better outcomes, more transparency, more trust, longer lasting relationships, so on and so forth. And so it's been really rewarding to get there. But I think getting everyone educated that this type of capability and this type of tooling exists that can bring a lot of these positive changes to relationships. We continue kind of one account at a time to let the world know. So it's pretty exciting. Um, so let me ask you, or just directly, you know why would you think that this type of technology has become an essential component to managing any of your outsourced labor or contingent labor?
yeah. So I think there's a few things, right? And in my role, I have the privilege, Brad, just like you do, of talking to clients from different industries that have different perspectives on value, that want to optimize their spend across various components. And one of the things that I would kind of continually hear in our client conversations, and it could be the CIO, right, CTO, CISO, COO, CFO, is we spend a lot with our contingent resources. It's a strategic enablement that we have made a decision on and that we've moved forward with, and yet we're not getting the outcomes that we're looking for, right? And the outcomes spanned across financial outcomes, which is kind of almost always one of the most important objectives when you go to a contingent resourcing model, you know, and right, like the conversations of, are we really like if in a day, are we getting all of the activity that we expected? And then over time, one of the commitments that you often receive from a contingent offshore partner is, we have kind of process optimization, we have automation, we have platform enablement, and all of these things will make you, client, more efficient, more productive, and create better end outcomes, whether they're client facing, consumer facing, or internal operations. And the gap from the vision of what was kind of sold to the CXO and the outcomes they were getting were quite significantly off, right? And that was the spark, right? So it was those conversations, with this conversation I had with the former colleague, and what they had seen and done with the Sapiens platform, and how quickly the time to value was, right? Because oftentimes you think about platform journeys and you're talking in years. I got to get in, I got to stand up a platform, I got to deploy a platform, I got to educate, train, this, that, and you're months, if not years into it, right? But the Sapience platform itself, right? The time to value is really 90 days or less. And I didn't believe it because everyone says it's 90 days or less. But having had the former colleague live through it and tell me what they did and the outcomes it generated, I had to, we had to speak with you guys. And, in those initial conversations, getting to know you, we started to feel that this might be different, and it might be unique. And in that uniqueness and this value proposition, we could really create a lot of value for our clients. And so you may remember, Brad, we went quickly from, hey, consumption to partner,
Yeah.
uh, because we just saw this opportunity, right, to really serve our clients, to really help them in an area that, to your black box conversation, they were buying something and they couldn't tangibly understand or confirm that they got what they paid for.
Yeah.
And doing it at a scale of millions to tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. That's, I don't think I could have said it better. And I think, it's really interesting, or one of the areas that, we often talk about is that, every company has such incredible process structure. And frankly, one of our colleagues likes to talk a lot about, the three-way match principles inside of, from a procurement perspective. And I think it's completely true. Like, I use a simple analogy, which is, if you order 1,000 PCs, you have somebody that goes down and verifies you got 1,000 PCs. And if only 600 ship, you don't say, just whatever, let's just pay him for the 1,000 machines. You insure it. And but yet, in many cases, the single largest expense line item in technology is contingent labor. And there's been, up until Sapiens, no verifiable way to be able to confirm that receipt of goods. Are you getting what you pay for it? I think it's
Yeah.
really that simple. And so, I think that there's a real fiduciary responsibility, and we're seeing this more and more in our financial services clients, especially, some in the asset management areas, et cetera, where, this is going to become, as contingent labor is now 30% plus of some company's workforce, the ability to be able to confirm or get that receipt of goods is going to become more and more critical for everyone. So it's a very, very interesting world, but you summarized it perfectly.
Yeah. I just, if you think about, there's obviously the cost optimization, right? Like everybody kind of understands that we have to be doing that. But this matching, the three-way matching principle, like I think Brad, you might have mentioned it, or someone, like, I bought 1,000 laptops, I got
Yeah.
600, but you got to pay me 1,000. Like no one in the right mind would ever do that, right? And
Yeah.
somehow we have allowed ourselves in the contingent workforce space to trust that the 1,000 laptops are always getting delivered. And so there is the workforce optimization component. There is a how do I manage the partner? How do I optimize the performance, right? Um, and so like all of these things that you want to do, you've just never been able to kind of manage it with data, right? And so without fact-based data, you're not really making good decisions. And so the sub-optimization of this entire value chain, right? And I think one of the reasons I think that this is going to become even more and more powerful is because of that two-letter word that we've heard a billion times now since November of 23, AI, right?
Yeah.
AI is going to continue to drive greater efficiencies, greater process improvements, significantly increased productivity, and a shift to how contingent workforce does their job, right? And so if the client of that contingent workforce company partner isn't aware of the work activity, what's going on, am I getting all of the hours I expect? And then most importantly, if I am, once I get to I'm getting the hours, are they using the platforms and the solutions and the AI enablement that I need them to so I can get the business outcomes, and I can accelerate the productivity in 2025 and 2026 and 2027. So this is a platform for kind of immediate kind of return on investment. And then, and while there's like this big bang opportunity to create value on economically, the long tail of knowing what the contingent workforce is doing and then making sure that you're optimizing it through AI enablement, automation, process improvement, it's a game changer of managing your business outcomes.
That's perfect. I couldn't have said it better, and really appreciate that, because I think everything that you just hit upon, from cost and workforce optimization, vendor performance, smarter resource allocation, better capacity management, so on and so forth. There are a lot of benefits. I mean, but what one of the things that when we designed this platform that we took into account, and I think you've touched on both of these, is our thought process was always around, how do we get something that's easy to deploy? So, we can stand the system up, and, literally we've done it over a weekend, but I'll say 2 weeks or less. We wanted a platform that could find immediate value to fund the ROI quickly. So to us, that's 6 months or less that can happen. And then something that would sustain over time. And so, we're really proud when we look at our business that, we have almost perfect gross retention numbers. So our customers stay with us. So we look at it and say, we've kind of achieved the three things: easy to put in, help fund something quickly, and then provide an ongoing sustained value, which was really design point behind what we were hoping to try to do. So let me ask a question, and this comes obviously from your kind of being a partner perspective, but do you have any like eye-opening experience or something that just sits in your head and you go like, wow, that was kind of surprising to you?
So we've obviously, as a partner and helping deploy this within our client base, I think there's probably a few things. First, just with the deployment, like it really is easy, right? It oftentimes we feel like these technology deployments can take some time, and they can, right? But the deployment itself is super easy. Your ability to start to collect the analytics and the data is very fast. From that collection standpoint, the ability to start to filter and understand what is work, what isn't work, what are different workflows. Like I said, as we think about a 90-day cycle, right? Within 6 weeks, you're directionally pretty well aligned around, hey, this is what the world looks like today for my environment, right? And then you start to go 2 more weeks, right? And you get really honed in on, kind of at a 96, 97, 98% confidence level that like I have, like I get my environment, I understand it. And then your ability to quickly action that, right? That and go have the conversations with your partner around, hey, listen, this is what I'm seeing. This is the analytics, what the analytics is showing. Based on that, let's really talk through kind of the operating model that we have, the financial model that we have, and start to optimize those components, right? And so this 90-day window, and we've seen this within our client base, right? We are, the outcomes themselves are really interesting. The ability to have those partner conversations and then to affect the change that you're looking for as a client. We've seen some interesting data points, and ultimately the client, right, gets the financial outcome they're looking for. They have a data platform and a reporting construct that allows them to manage the partner more effectively going forward. And quite honestly, from a partner perspective, right, the full transparency is actually good in the long run, even for the partner, right? Because they are then able to make commitments and be able to factually, data enabled, deliver on those commitments, right? And so those partners that lean in and say, hey, yes, we need to fix some things here. We need to fix the financial. We got to lower your run rate costs. And listen, we want to be on this journey with you, and we're going to deliver on these commitments. They do that. They can strengthen that relationship, right? There, there's some crucial conversations to be had between understanding the gap in what you thought you were getting and what you are getting to reducing your run rate costs, right? There's a crucial conversation or a couple of them. But on the flip side, on the other side of that, the partner client journey can really strengthen if both sides are enabled with the right data and the right mindset.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, and those experiences, I would just take that on and say, and this really is I kind of call it our clickbait moment, but
Yeah,
it's from a Sapien side, but it's real. Is that I think it was about 3 years ago when we really perfected how to do true invoice to actual reconciliations.
yeah,
And so we were able to just ingest time cards and layer that directly against the actual, time worked,
yeah,
and numbers were started coming back. And I would tell you in the last, 15 to 20 major engagements I can remember, that delta has been anywhere between 40 to 50%. And
yeah,
so, I'll often hear the balancing act where you have, customers who rightfully so say, hey, these are strategic partners, and I don't doubt the validity. They do incredible work. But you say, if you have a relationship that's off center by that level of magnitude, we're not talking about a 5 or 10% gap in terms of the invoice to actuals, but you get into 40, 50%. I agree with you that where we've seen the most success has been our customers who go and really embrace the ones that want to be partners and fix it. And
yeah,
and and we've had many customers that have moved on from ones that don't want to embrace it and
yeah,
and and and, and figure out a new path forward. And I think that's really important. And it's a really eye-opening experience. And by the way, very uncomfortable experience for a lot of
yeah,
for a lot of customers to have those tough conversations and to change. Change is hard. And
yeah,
I kind of look at the world and say, look, everybody's been operating under the best mechanism possible, right? From the tools that they thought were available to them. This is
yeah.
technology advancement. This is now, it's widely available and it's widely available to be leveraged. And my belief is that in the coming next 5 years, people are going to look back and say, how did you not have a Sapience in there
Yep.
doing this automated reconciliation? Because it's a new, it just makes good sense. It creates healthier relationships, and it's the right path forward, I
That's
believe.
that's exactly right. And a couple things, if I could just expand on what you said,
Yeah.
40 to 50% gap between what was contracted for and what was delivered. And so let's go back to our laptop example. That means if every day you were buying 1,000 laptops and you expected 1,000 laptops to get delivered, you were only getting 600 and you were paying for 1,000 every single day, right? And so, like, as a business owner, as a business leader, as a budget owner, like, you can't let that happen like that. And so it is a crucial conversation that you have to have. And I have seen clients get uncomfortable wanting to have that with their partners because they are strategic partners. And I get that. And it's real. And yet, I can tell you right now, because we are a portion of our business is delivering those 1,000 laptops. There is not one client of mine that would ever say it's okay for me to deliver them 1,000 laptops and, or sorry, for them to order 1,000 laptops, for me to deliver 600, and then for me to charge them for 1,000. There's not one. And I can tell you, if I did it even one day, one shipment, I would be fired and I should be fired, right? So I think this is one of those situations where once you get over that initial hump, and this is where, Brad, your team, along with our team, has done a really good job. And you know, you've been through these conversations. We help clients navigate that crucial conversation, or quite honestly, crucial conversations, and give them kind of the path of how it's going to go, and help them through that, right? Because once you're on the other side, to your point, you have two chances that there's two things. The partners align and they want to be strategic with you for the long haul, right? Or they don't. And either way, as the business as owner, you have the right then to make the decision that's best for your business, right? But like it's it's simple in one way, and I get it's hard in a certain way. But if you look at it from the lens of 1,000 laptops ordered, 600 delivered, you should really only pay for 600.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, and in fairness, I'm going to go back because I believe that, you know, most all companies, they want to do a great job. I think they want to be fully deployed. Often what you find is that, either capacity or, incorrect communication around goals or what you want people to be working on. And, and by the way, I think it's very difficult even on think of the current timesheet approval process. I mean,
Yeah.
you're asking somebody to sitting in the US to, approve a resource that they worked X number of hours and they're in the Philippines or India or wherever it is, or 8,000 miles away. You have, no great kind of mile marks to even understand if you should approve it or not. So what we see is that breaks in favor of approving every single time. And so it creates a really big inefficiency in a
Yep.
company. And the good news is something exists now that can help them break that down.
Yep.
Um, let me ask, because we're kind of around this topic right now, is, what have you seen as kind of the big areas of focus for a successful implementation and to get value out of something like workforce productivity analytics?
Yeah, I think so a couple of things. One, you need to have the right business leader who owns the relationship with the contingent workforce partner. They, this has to be something that they are leading, right? Technology is going to support, finance is going to support, everyone will support, but the business leader who owns the actual outcome that should be coming from the contingent labor partner, they got to own this because they have the best understanding of what they've committed to or what the partner's committed to, what's been contracted for, what every day the different teams should be delivering against, right? And so they're best positioned to take the data and the analytics and the reporting that's going to come to them and make heads or tails out of it, right? So I think that's the first thing. Like no, like there has to be one person, one team that's coming from the business side that owns this relationship. I think that person then has to clearly understand kind of the platform, kind of the high level deployment, right? And then pull all the right folks from the various teams together, right? You got to pull tech in, you got to pull, the legal folks in, and you got to do this relatively quickly. Now, the good news is, right, Sapience and Xerox IT Solutions, we understand the process, so we're kind of their right hand in this journey, and we can help them navigate the tech conversations, sit down with their legal folks, and have them kind of get this done pretty quickly. Um, so I would kind of start there, right? And then as the data starts to come in, to really start to pull. Now I got the data. I can see where the gaps are. To take the reporting and an analytics and say, okay, well, what does that mean for the partnership, the outcomes that I expected, the outcomes I'm getting, pull in finance to understand what the gap and delta is, right? If you have again, if you have a time and materials type relationship, what is that going to mean for me? If you have, kind of a P times Q, I get these many headcount, I paid this price for that headcount, right? And through so on, depending on the type of construct that they have with the partner, and to really start to build that full kind of understanding of what does this mean for us, right? And then going and having those conversations, right? And post conversations, being able to start to affect the change that is going to be required, if you want to have that partnership continue to be delivering what is expected and to strengthen it so that on all both sides there's a clear understanding of kind of the new rules as they move forward.
Yeah, I really like that description. I think just to add or I think enhance into it a little bit is that one of the big pieces of advice we always give is look, you have to have that clear senior owner of the program, and so if that's the line of business head or whichever role that is, but I think having very clear purpose about what is your mission, what is it you hope to achieve out of this, because that not only clearly can keep the team in alignment and help I would say the suppliers to understand what you're trying to get out of it. And we've had them all, I would say, from a customer perspective, from some that have been, this is just, I want cost savings, and that's a certain motion to
Yeah.
just get money cost out, to others that may not be as worried about the cost, but they're trying to free up capacity for more strategic initiatives, or they're trying to create better transparency or quicker, a whole number of areas. And so that's, I think that kind of clarity of purpose and mission is really important as you
Yeah,
go through this type of journey.
100%, 100%. And, I think, one of the things that we've learned and we've seen within our client deployments, right, is, uh, if you're in sourcing, oftentimes you had to build these plans and programs and you're trying to get in year and return on investment. To date, we haven't seen a return on investment anything faster or at the scale as what Sapience provides in this contingent workforce opportunity. It is, the time to value is super quick. The return on investment is very, very high. And quite honestly, it's with a couple of our clients, like we've been able to actually calculate, hey, every week you delay this is the cost that you're not taking out of the ecosystem, right? And it's so tangible, right? This isn't cost avoidance. This isn't I'll make an investment and I'm going to get the return in 7 years, right? Like the the time to value it's faster than anything I've seen.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit of a curveball question, but it's a good question, I think. And do you have an opinion? I mean, I can tell you one of the things that I've been surprised with is the fact that Sapiens, we're growing quickly, but that we haven't grown, hundreds of percent each year. We've got an easy to deploy platform, big ROI. It seems like such a normal kind of, kind of easy to comprehend value proposition.
Yeah.
Why do you think we receive, and you've seen this too. I mean, you guys are strategic partners, you have a competency around this. We're out in the market trying to sell it. Why is there pushback? So why would a company not do this?
So
Do
I
you have
think,
any opinion around that?
yeah, the client conversations I have, especially when you get to the right CXO who who has significant accountability and or spend with the contingent workforce partner, their eyes and ears perk up the second this conversation comes up, when we talk about kind of the historically what's been seen and what that could lead to from a return on investment perspective. I think there's, a couple things. One, there's probably a little bit of the, hey, you really can't do it in 90 days. It's really going to be hard. There's a lot to get done. And so I think there's that. I think there's organizational inertia in general in companies. And the bigger the company is, the more inertia there is. Um, and and then it's a priority discussion, right? Like, where does this land? And so where I think we've been able to be successful is, I think one of the reasons we have been successful in most of our engagements is we have real life data that we share with them. Like, we're giving them true client outcomes and we share the journey. And, quite honestly, we drink our own champagne. So like, it's easy for me to sell something and partner with someone when I know what it can do, right? And so our story itself is real, right? This isn't a phantom or a wishful kind of discussion or strategy. This is real life that we did it. Um, but I think those are the things that kind of get in the way, right? And it's our job, right, as partners and as people that want to serve our clients to help them navigate those things. So, well, this will not be 90 days. Okay, well, listen, like we make it super easy to do POC, right? You know, when we partner with you, right? And so we kind of take that out of the equation, right? Like it's the POC itself is very easy. We're fully engaged. We practically do all the things that we can for them. So we take that out, right? Um, uh, Helping them see the data, helping them figure out what the financial outcomes could be. It's all about just giving them everything that they need so they almost can't say no, right? But those are the things that'll get in the way of any kind of normal process. And it's our job to help them navigate that change.
Yeah, yeah, and I would agree with everything you said. And having done this for a
Uh,
lot of years now, I think the only one that I would add around that is, and I think it's normal, is that there has been a technology advancement. This is highly innovative, next generation technology.
yep,
This didn't exist, and I think sometimes there's practitioners that we meet with, or I meet with, and
yep,
they say, this is, gosh, this sounds great, and then they instantly go, wow, I sponsored $100 million deal with X Y Z company,
yeah,
a year and a half ago, and what if this data comes back and says that that wasn't a good deal? Does that mean something bad for themselves? And
yeah,
I think my general point is I try to keep them to say, look, you didn't do a bad deal 18 months ago. Nobody did.
yeah,
This tech is now starting to become prominent enough in the marketplace that
yeah,
you get a hall pass. Now, in
yep.
5 years, won't be acceptable if you just ignore it. But I think right now it's still early enough on. So no, so thank you for that perspective
That is absolutely fair.
and
Actually, that's a good perspective. That is a good perspective. Like there is a, well, now that it's uncovered, holy crap. And it's like, well, you're the one that uncovered it. And you're the one that's going to be able to show the value creation kind of immediately and how you build a lasting partnership and get the expected business outcomes. Truly get the expected business outcomes.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, look, I think for us, this is hopefully everyone out there, you found some fun here, but I want to make sure we leave plenty of time so
Yep.
we can get ourselves to Questionville. So I don't know, Matt, if you're out there, and if we've had any questions, or if anybody wants to ask anything, please feel free.
No, I am still here, and we have quite a few questions. So let me get to my.
Okay.
If you guys are ready, so first one I have is how easy is it to deploy this or the solution?
I'm Brett, as a consumer and as a deployment partner of yours, it really is pretty easy, right? If you have a VDI enabled infrastructure, right? There's a collector that comes out. It's very low touch, takes almost no processing, which I know is always a concern with the tech teams because every time they deploy an agent, they feel like, oh, this is gonna take up all the cycles. The collector itself takes very little of the usage of the system resources. Um, and so either on a VDI system or on an endpoint, laptop, desktop, any of that, you get it deployed. Once it's deployed, it starts to collect the data. And then the data, as I mentioned earlier in the session, right, you want to filter through that data to just figure out what is work stuff, what is not work. And as you get more and more advanced, you can actually start to do workflows of that data. So you can even figure out how optimized you are with those workflows. But Brad, I mean, obviously it's your platform, so if I've missed anything, please do chime in.
No, I think I would just answer that one level up, which is we can literally start showing you your data in under 2 weeks, and we've done it as quickly as 4 days. So it is not a complicated, heavy lift, in order to get the technology up and running.
Yep.
Another question similar to that is what's the learning curve to learning how to use this?
Brad, you want to take it, and then I can add kind of my.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so I think, yeah. Well, let me answer this in a couple different ways. So one is, like any technology, there's a learning curve, but it's quite intuitive. Everything that we build, I think, are highly intuitive. Most of what comes out from us is all around our reporting packages. Those reporting packages, I think, are easy to follow, as well as we also have a customer success team that's dedicated to our clients throughout the journey that are helping you kind of every step of the way to understand the data, different ways to interpret it, how to look at it, how to, potential, insights and actions that can be taken out of it. So I think the system itself is quite user friendly, very intuitive, easy to use, and ultimately getting value out of the platform. I believe is also simple, easy to use. I can tell you our mission of what we're doing at a platform level is as you can imagine, with all these advancements that we have happening right now in the world around, AI insights, natural language processing, et cetera. Our platform this year is even going to get easier because we envision a world where we'll collect this data and you're not even going to have to look through it through reporting. You're going to be able to have those natural conversations with the system in order to have it, get the data points or insights that you're looking for to, straight away. So I think it's a very intuitive, easy to use system. And frankly, we drink our own champagne and manage our company. And I promise you, if I can use it each week in order to get insights and manage a more effective company, anybody out there listening can. I assure you of that.
And another question is, based upon lessons learned, how are country legal requirements adhered to if a contractor activity is being tracked?
So that is probably more complex than we're going to get into in the context of the limited time we have. But the answer is so the system is e-privacy certified. We do have tracking that's happening around the world in some of the most labor sensitive markets around the planet. We have very specific strategies and recommendations. Uh, in those countries, most of those adhere around a whole set of rules, whether what we do with the data, how long we sit on the data, the type of data that's collected, notification, and frankly, what that data is being used for and being able to document that. We have not had a problem yet in anywhere of doing this. So
Perfect. I want to learn more with the exclamation mark. How long is a meeting?
um,
Listen, we've gotten pretty good at this. We can do this in 30 minutes to get you the high level, and then, as we need to peel the layers of the onion, we can go do that as well. But very, Matt, and whoever asked the question, like we can, and we're happy to get on at 2 o'clock if you'd like, 2 o'clock Central if you'd like. So
Can Sapiens be deployed where employee identity is not visible?
yes, yes. So one of the great things that we have inside of our platform is uh, an unbelievable amount of privacy configurations. And so our ability to kind of uh, easily auto configure the system in order to meet whatever your privacy requirements are. And so we have examples of, from anonymization all the way to full openness and multiple modes in between. So very confident we can meet whatever your privacy requirements would be.
Perfect. And Munu, I think you touched on this a little bit, but what are some more best practices for a successful deployment?
again, I think, as I mentioned earlier, have a business owner that is aligned to the contingent offshore workforce partner. They need to be kind of leading this initiative. And then underneath that individual or that team, have the right members from tech, finance, legal, operations, etc., who can help them review the data, the analyze the data and the reporting, and then come up with kind of like the next steps that they need to take with the partner.
When a company is looking at cost optimization, what results are possible?
Brad mentioned it, right? But in general, we'll say there's a 30 to 50% gap between what you should be receiving and what you are receiving. We have seen in the ones that we've supported with Brad and his team on, we're seeing closer to that 50% threshold, quite honestly. And so I'll go back to this laptop analogy, right? 1,000 laptops, you're basically getting somewhere between 500 to 700 delivered, and you're paying for 1,000 every day. Like that's kind of what you should be looking to see, the value you can get. Brad, I don't know if you want to add to that or.
Yeah, I think without being able to get specific, I would say that we've seen, 30 to 50% reductions. It has been pretty standard now. Again, it goes back, I made a comment when I think we were talking earlier, which is kind of what is the clear purpose? And so we've had some customers that it's been really about cost savings. So we've seen everything from rebate checks being written to try to rectify for, for some of those gaps, to companies saying, okay, that's not my primary goal, but I want to get my capacity right moving forward. And so I think it really depends, how aggressive, how big the opportunity is, and what you're hoping to achieve out of it. But there's very quick demonstrable ROI from this.
I'll say it again, it's the fastest ROI I've seen and the quickest time to value.
One last, I see a couple questions about like pricing. So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think the best way would be to have a meeting to kind of look at their specific use case. And we put like that, the way that they can reach out for like that meeting is to reach out to their client executive to fill out the survey at the end, or to reach out to, if you don't have a client executive, to reach out to my email. And we'll be reaching out afterwards as well. So
great.
Perfect. That is it for the questions. You guys killed it on the presentation, and then you also answer those questions. So no curveballs. So
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, Brad, this is a great conversation. For those of you that are still on, reach out to us. Even if you are mildly interested or strongly interested, reach out. We can have a very quick conversation, get a lay of your environment, understand kind of what the opportunity scope could be, and quickly get you to a place where hopefully you can make a decision that says, let's try this out, right? And from there, you will see value. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Manu, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you to Xerox and everybody else. This has been a great use of time. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and appreciate everybody for taking time out of your busy day to come here as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Okay, see you, everyone.